Very good morning to you. So let's start off with that, your call, your move to independence. How easy or hard is that likely to be?
Good morning, Jane and Tumelo, and good morning to the viewers. Look, this matter has been discussed for a long time, and of course, there is a universal acceptance that in order for the NPA to do its work without fear, without favor, without prejudice and influence, you need to make sure that everything is consistent with independence, and therefore it needs to be independent so that whatever may have happened over the past 10 years is not repeated. So therefore, there are discussions taking place amongst the stakeholders in order to make sure that the NPA takes its decision without any influence from the executive, and the modalities will be discussed with the stakeholders.
Is the NPA currently experiencing any prejudice or interference from the Justice Department, hence this continuous call for being more independent?
Not really. I think I must emphasize the fact that that has got nothing to do with what is happening at present. Of course, everything the NPA is doing its work in the manner that it's supposed to. However, the strategic objectives of the NTPP in particular is to make sure that the NPA becomes an independent organization, professional, accountable, and credible. And in order to achieve all those things and to make sure that you avoid any undue influence, because the people that are there now, both in the government and in the NPA, may not be there in 10 or 15 years. And therefore, you need to make sure that you safeguard the institution so that there is no undue pressure that may arise given the way it is located now.
All right, what sort of timeline are we looking here? Obviously, you've got to get the go-ahead, and I think it'll be hard to justify why you shouldn't get the go-ahead. But I guess the timing is pretty significant, considering the arrests that are underway and how I'm hoping the NPA is getting closer and closer to the big boys at the top.
Look, as I said, there are discussions, and I think everybody understands how issues are evolving around these issues, and I think that the sooner it is practical, because there are a number of things that would have to be done. There are legislation, there are issues around PFMA, accounting officers, and so on. So those things take time. But I think if there is agreement by everyone, but I think in good time, those things should be able to happen. But it all depends on whether or not everyone is on the same page with regards to the modalities and the length of time that it will take for those things to happen.
Right. Ms. Ongwema, I know that you recently appeared before a Parliament Standing Committee on Public Accounts, also known as SCOPA, actually just yesterday. You gave a progress there, an update on some of your work. I mean, in terms of, updating South Africans and giving more context, how far are you now in terms of the work that you're currently doing, ensuring that, those who are implicated in corruption are not only brought to book, but also, justice is served and those arrests are seen?
Undoubtedly, as the General Libya announced yesterday, there's a phenomenal work that is being done by the investigators, both in SIU and the Hawks, of course, working very close with all the other organs in the Fusion Center, including the NPA. And there is action, of course, that is expected to be taken tomorrow with regards to PPEs, given that work that is being done. You must remember the issue around PPEs started a few months ago. However, there are cases already that are on the roll, and including the cases that there will be action on tomorrow are going to be on the roll. So government and all the law enforcement agencies take the issue of PPEs very seriously. They want to make sure that action is taken swiftly, and those who are responsible should account for whatever had happened with regard to the procurement of PPEs and the criminal activity that took place there. So yes, indeed, there's phenomenal work that is unfolding, and almost all the areas where government and law enforcement agencies need to focus on, they are focusing on, and the results are coming, and action, as I said, is being taken.
All right. You are promising more arrests, and I know that the NPA, particularly when Batoy came in, I mean, she was really thumped, wasn't she, for taking a long time? But finally, we are seeing arrests. There are many issues that are still to be dealt with. VBS, Life Esidimandi, rather marking 5 years. It must have been quite a sort of a traumatic process, mustn't it? Finding out how much harm has been done to this country by so many individuals. How do you guys feel there when you have a success, and what sort of successes are you still looking forward to?
Look, it's still early days. As I said, that we would love people to be patient with investigations. Quality takes time. Of course, the ones that have been finished will be then put on the roll. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's a long road ahead. However, there are cases that are being finished. There are some legs in terms of the big complicated cases that are being tackled. There are people on the roll, people being arrested, some on bail, and some will be arrested, of course, in the short while. So we still continue to plead that can the majority of South Africans do understand the pace, because in order for us to be able to present a formidable case before any court, we need to make sure that work is done properly. And indeed, the leaders of the various institutions are committed, and that work is being done. But of course, we can't rush it. There is no microwave approach to these complex commercial investigations. But in the end, they will all come to court if there's credible evidence and witnesses, and there's no doubt in terms of the commitment of all the various agencies taking part in this thing, that everyone who is caught on the wrong side of the law has to be accountable, and those people must be taken to court in order for the court to decide on their guilt or not.
Yeah. Mr. Ngwema, I mean, I know that amongst other challenges you're facing, or rather the calls that you've been making as an institution, was for your budget not to be cut. You've spoken out quite vehemently that should you lose some of your budget, this might affect, of course, your investigations and the thorough work you need to do in addressing, amongst other things, gender-based violence. How far are you with that call for the budget of the institution, the NPA, that is not to be cut?
Yes, look, there's general understanding in terms of what COVID has done to a country, of course, that was already having serious problems with regards to the fiscus. But I think in order for the NPA to do its work thoroughly, and some of the investigating agencies like the Hawks, for example, you need to make sure that you don't pull the resources that you have given them that much, so that they're able to do at least the bare minimum of the work that they have to do. For example, if now, in terms of what is envisaged, we're to lose another 1.3 billion of the 4.2 that was allocated to the NPA, that means that very many of the cases that we are doing will have to take a backseat. A number of appointments that would have to be done, about 500 plus, will also have to take a backseat. And that means that we are unable to then boost the capacity of law enforcement, and therefore the cases will take longer. However, with the minimum that we're given now, we're able to say we should be able to finish those cases in good time if we're able to recruit the skills and capacity that we need in order to deal with this huge backlog that had been created over the past decade or so.
Ngwema, very good to talk to you. Thank you.